Kia ora and welcome to Kiwi Reviews. My name is Daniel and this is Bala, and today we're going to be talking about The Mandalorian.
And just so you guys know, there will be a lot of spoilers in this video, so fair warning. If you haven't seen the show, go watch it and then come back.
So Kiwi Reviews is just going to be us, a couple of Kiwis, talking about movies that we watch.
The Mandalorian.
What do you think?
It opened really strongly for me and for us both. First 3 episodes, awesome. I was really enjoying it. And then it kind of got a little bit shaky.
I thought quite similar to you. I think we talked about it a lot. We had watched the first 3 in one sitting, and I remember at the end of that we were pretty excited about it, and I know that I was really keen to see what had happened or what was going to happen next. And then we watched, I think, another 2 the next day, maybe even 3 again, and it was not such a great sitting, not the same vibe as that first day. It kind of did take a weird step away from the narrative. You know, it kind of had this idea that he was with this baby and he was taking the baby somewhere, and then he kind of was, but also he was just doing side missions for fun. It's like when you're playing like Skyrim and you just stop doing the main quest and just do a bunch of side quests for a while, and then like 4 hours later, it's kind of what it felt like we did.
Yeah,
totally.
And they set it up as like a serial. The first 3 episodes had this really strong through line of the Mandalorian and the Baby Yoda.
And I think that's really important, like talking about how it started that way, because don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with a show that does that. You know, there's a lot of TV shows out there which is episodic and has some kind of a through line. You know, there are some bigger story arcs that take place over the season, but I really do feel like this show started out quite strongly. We were on one journey the whole way through, which was cool. And then episode 4 still kind of taking us on the journey, because at that point he's trying to get away, he's trying to find somewhere to hide out with the baby. Episode 5, I think, what does it start with? His ship getting shot up, so then he maybe is forced to land on Tatooine. I couldn't even remember why he went there.
That episode and the episode afterwards, which was like a random heist movie, didn't fit the serial narrative at all of The Mandalorian and the Baby Yoda. If you take out the episode 6, the rest of the season doesn't change. Also,
we were talking about, you know, if we were putting it together, episodes 1, 2, 3, great. Episode 4, still kind of in the same storyline. Take 5 and 6 out, 5 and 6, and you put 7 and 8 there, and that would have been a much more cohesive feeling story. Episode
that's like 4, an acceptable arc.
Because we started paying attention a lot to who was writing each of these episodes, and Jon Favreau did a lot of them. Episode 5 was written by someone else, but episode 6 was credited as like a screenplay by, adapted by, story by. Like it actually clearly wasn't even part of The Mandalorian. It was a previous story that I'm guessing they adapted a little bit to add in the Baby Yoda element. And it actually did feel like that, You
could really tell. The writing from episodes 4 onwards felt real different to the writing from episodes 1 to 3. Episode 1, great writing because there was so little of it. It was really cool how much you can accomplish with just visual storytelling. You've got this character, this main character, whose face you never actually see. And he doesn't speak that much, and still we got so much of the story. But then from episode 4, I would say, is when the writing really started to go downhill. There was that one moment where they were fighting the big walker, the Mick Walker, and the shock trooper, the rebel shock trooper soldier that the Mandalorian is fighting with, literally points out for everyone to see. Everyone's just seen it stop before falling into the trap, and she goes, "It stopped," which just made the audience feel so dumb, because it's like, well, yeah, obviously we saw that it stopped. You didn't have to tell us that it stopped. Whereas the first 3 episodes at least made us work for it a little bit. And we felt kind of clever when we put things together and we're like, oh, okay, so they're withholding a little bit of information.
Like you were saying, we were just in almost awe, and we said a lot, like it really says a lot for just storytelling in general when someone who's not even saying words, but also we can't even see their face, and we can still read so much from what's going on. And I was also like, that's brave. And it's working, but it is brave and refreshing to see, because most times people will just put it in the dialogue and put that exposition in there.
The expositional writing also kind of went against the characters, I felt. Like they set the Mandalorian up as this like silent but deadly kind of character who doesn't talk that much.
And I didn't take that to be silent because there was no one for him to talk to, or because he didn't want to talk to people. I thought it was just, he's kind of a badass dude who just keeps quiet, shoots people, and that's kind of his thing. But then, no, apparently once he has people to talk to, he's chatterbox.
He talks a lot. He talks a lot.
I was going to say, speaking of the Star Wars universe, it's a great universe to be a part of, like to watch. It's awesome. I love seeing the more and more things that come out about Star Wars, some of them good, some of them bad. What's always kind of, I think, hits a really cool note is just expanding this world, because it's a cool world.
The world building.
And with those sci-fi worlds, you can just kind of go wherever you want, do whatever you want, and they really do, and it works well, and the production value is there. So you're watching it and you're like, this is really cool to watch.
Yeah.
And that's talking music, cinematography, the lighting. It was all, and obviously the CGI was just like, the only time I had a couple issues with CGI, super minor. Some of the speeder scenes kind of felt a bit like, a little bit like a computer moving a computer around, like it felt kind of like Baby Yoda I think was mostly a puppet, but like very cute, really well and really well done. The cinematography was cool, the shots always looked good. Quite often we would look at each other and be like, oh, that's a cool shot. You know, I know that you said that a few times to me. And in particular the music
was awesome in this show. Like, I've always been a fan of Ludwig Göransson because he's the dude who worked on Black Panther, and he's worked with Childish Gambino a lot as well, just in hip-hop music. And so I'm a big fan of his, and I've really enjoyed this. It's got like such a moody tone. There were a couple of tracks where they kind of stuck out like a sore thumb and really didn't fit the vibe. But mostly the music was awesome. And
funnily enough, the music that didn't really fit in with the rest of the music happened in those middle episodes. Like, it was in 4, 5 and 6 where you had these real kind of like funky, especially 6, which we keep saying was like this heist, had these heist beats coming in, and then I think that in 5 there was like some weird baby bit when the lady at the shipyard in Tatooine had baby Yoda, even though I was reading that we shouldn't be saying Baby Yoda, but what else are you gonna call it? Baby Yoda.
Speaking of Baby Yoda, I did really enjoy Baby Yoda in general, and the relationship between Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. They set it up really nicely with Baby Yoda playing with the ball on one of his gear sticks, I guess, in the ship. And then later on, as he's screwing it on really slowly and the camera tracks into his helmet, you can almost see the thoughts going on behind his head, which was really cool.
In episodes 7 and 8, logically, some of it didn't really make sense to me. And it felt like ultimately the writers needed it to get to this stage. Some things I feel like they forgot about completely, and other times it was just like convenience, you know, and that happens all the time in films, but when it's not that fun when you can feel the convenience. They're camping out at night in the desert and these like pterodactyl things fly in and start like eating everyone up. If you're living on this planet where these pterodactyl things exist, either you know they exist, in which case you don't camp outside at night under the stars, because who wants to get attacked by friggin' dragons? Or secondly, they're super rare, or they don't exist that you know of anyway. So when they do attack, your first thought is, what the hell are these things? Like, they're attacking us. Like, oh, I don't know, shoot them, you know? It was just like, okay, why would you put yourself in that scenario? You know, our bounty hunter guy gets injured, and then Baby Yoda does the healing, and then you say, oh, that's why. Because he needed to get injured. He needed to get healed so that he could then do a double cross on the bounty hunters and join the team of the Mandalorian. Convenient as.
Too easy.
Too easy. A little bit too easy. There was maybe another way to go about it. I don't know what that is. But I'm sure there was. Because you can do anything. The Force.
To me, the ending to episode 8 felt a bit anticlimactic, because episode 7 ended with such a cliffhanger that you thought that the battle in that little bar was going to be the big thing at the end. But they managed to get away from that in the first sort of third of episode 8. So then I was like, oh, okay, what's going to be the even harder thing that they're going to face at the end of episode 8? But actually, the challenge at the end is just to shoot the guy in the big ship. And he gets that by getting on the jetpack and using his grenade. It seems a bit anticlimactic because that was way easier than what was at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, true.
So all in all, The Mandalorian, I enjoyed episodes 1 to 3 and episodes 7 and 8. Episode 4 was okay, kind of necessary. Episode 5 and 6, I could lose. So the main story of The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda and being hunted by the Empire, that was really interesting, that was really cool. Episodes 5 and 6 had nothing to do with that.
I don't believe that this is the case, but something that I said to Butler afterwards was like, episode 1 through 3 felt like it could be a movie. Like that was the Mandalorian movie, or the very least those 3 were the first 3 that were written and worked on the most as a means of like proof of concept. You know what I mean? Check this story. And it felt like the rest came together after that. I enjoyed it through to the end. I will watch season 2. I like the Star Wars world specifically. I'm excited for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Because I want to see more of this world.
Definitely.
So talking about the Star Wars world, I'm really enjoying it. Some films and series are doing better than others, but I want to know what you guys think. Since The Force Awakens to The Mandalorian, which story have you enjoyed the most?
For me, I'd probably say either Rogue One or actually The Mandalorian, because those first 3 episodes were so strong.
Cool. I would like to say The Force Awakens. There was something about that, though it felt familiar, maybe too familiar. I just had a really good time watching it. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. I've been Daniel, and he's been Bala, and this is Kiwi Review, so hopefully you stick around for the next one.
See you.
Peace.